So we're going to start with this intro here. We got G, D, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, A. Let's try that again. So G to D, and then F to B flat, and then E flat up here on the 6th fret to A flat on the 4th fret up to A for 2 bars. So 2, 3, 4. Okay, so one more time in that intro. G to D, F to B flat, E flat to A flat, and then A. Let's do one real slow. 2, 3, 4. D, F. You do that little one if you want. B flat, E flat, 6th fret here, A flat, A. Okay, 2, 3, eh. Okay, then we're going to get in this A minor 9. So we got 7 on the D, and then we got 5, 5, and then we got 7 here with the pinky on the bottom. So we got, so kind of just up and down the strings with each with a different finger. And then F sharp minor, 4, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so like 4 times back and forth of that. And then we're going to have the chorus chords, G, A, D. And you kind of pull that pinky in there. I'm calling that a D sus. So you got that pinky coming in and out. So you got G to the A and D sus in and out. And then G to A and then D to B major. So that's 2, 4, 4, 4. So once again, G to A and then D to D sus, G to A, then D to B, and then we're going to have G to D and then E7. So let's do the whole thing. So we got G to A, 3, 4. D, D sus in the back, G to A, D to B, G to D, and E7. So that E7 is like open, 2, open, 1, 3, open. Let's do the whole chorus chord sequence again. 2, 3, 4. Back to a verse. Chorus chords again. Okay, now we have the organ solo. The guitar chords are going to be. So that's an A minor 7. I'm doing a middle finger here and the big 5, and then I'm muting the A string, and then the next 3 strings down, the D, G, and B. I've got this finger flattened out to get that. That's how you do like a minor 7 jazz chord type thing. So it's A minor 7 to B minor 7. So it's. Which is also basically Moon Dance by Van Morrison, those 2 chords too, if that sounds familiar. So it's a couple minutes of an organ solo, and they get like, they kind of build it up and stuff. So listen for those different types of things. But once we get through with that, we're going to be into the guitar solo. So I'm going to skip that right now. That's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds of just the guitar solo. So we're going to finish the arrangement of the tune and then get into the guitar solo. So the guitar solo has those same chords as well. But once the guitar solo is done, we're going to go back to the intro. G to D, F to B flat, E flat, A flat, A. So let's try that. 2, 3, and. have another verse. Chorus chords. Last verse is like, so you can kind of go to the big A minor 7 and the big F sharp minor 7. Gets a little more forceful, a little heavier. Now this will be the last chorus chords. Now here we're going to go G to A and just D. Now we're going to switch to F to the C to the D. We're going to do that 4 times. And then we have the outro, which is like the intro, but it's just going to end right on the A. So it's going to be. Okay, so now we're going to get into the 2-minute 20-second guitar solo by Robbie Krieger. All right, here's Robbie Krieger's solo from Light My Fire. It's going to start out with. Okay, so our first thing is 8 on the 2nd string, and then we have this little 5, and those are pickup notes before the new measure, so 1, 2, 3. So that 7 is the new measure. So 1, 2, 3. So we got the 7 and the 8, and then we have this hammer-on pull-off, and another pull-off down to the 8, back to the 5. So we got to the 8, that riff again, and then to this 5 on the 2nd string. So the same type of riff, that riff happens a lot in the song. So we're going to have the 2nd string doing the 7, 8, 7, 5. And then 7 on the G, back to that 5 there. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to have, so that was 5, 8 on the 2nd, back to 5, 7, 8, 7, kind of hold that a minute. And then we have a double pull-offs, 8, 7, 5. And then here on the 2nd string. And then on the 3rd string. So all together, 1, 2, 3. Okay, on this next measure, we're going to have, so we have a 8th note rest to start, so we go 1, just a little bit of a pause. We're going to have 5, 6, 7 on the G, same on the B, and then on the E, 5, 6 to the 7 on the 2nd string there, so. And then you do it again. Then we're going to have, so we got the double hammer on, little 5, 7, then we got a pull off here, 8 to 5 to 7, and then little 5 to 7, 8. Check out the tab on this, it makes it a lot easier to follow along. Try that first part. So ding, that's the end of that. And then we got, so that was 7 and 5. And then you got the kind of a double hit on that and a big bend. Pull off to that lower 7, 5, 7, 5 to 7 on the 2nd string. So that was 7 on the G, little 5, 7 on the D, hammer on 5 to 7. Let's go for all that. 1, 2, 3. have this double stops thing. We have eights and fives. You slide up on that one, down on that one, up. Okay, so one more time through that. So we got fives to threes and hit the threes again. And then we have a, so back and forth. And then 5, 5, 5. So that's our new riff. You could kind of rake this from an A minor. Kind of do the 2-1 open if you wanted, or you could just go 0-1-3. So we got a hammer on pull off to the 3 and then to the 2. So we got, and that's a double pull off 4-2-0 to the 2 on the E string. So okay, now we're on page 2 of the tab. So we got 2-4-2-0 to that lower 2, and we do that 3 times. And then, so that's 5-7, 5-7, 5-7. So 5-7 all the way up. So we're going up to the 7, 8, 10, and 12 on that, and then we're up here in the 12. So we got 12, 13, 15, and then we're doing a hammer on pull off to another pull off. And then we're gonna go 15, 13. So we had dee da da dee dum dum. So once again from the open. Kind of slide that down. And now we're going to have hammer-ons. So 12, 13, 15 and back to that 14. And then we're going to have not the 12, just the 13, 15 and up. So once again, those two are the same on each different string. And then, so that one was, and then a double pull off to the 15 on the second, and then, so we're playing with the 17th fret there. So once again, that last little riff was, and then little 12, 17, and then we have this really fast riff. So that's a tricky one we got. So you got to take this one with the tab and go real slow and kind of get it. Has a little eighth note rest. So that's like the one measure. 3, 4, 1. I'll do it real slow. 3, 4, 1. And then the next measure, so 17, 19, 17, 19, 21, and then 19, 17, 17, 17 on the G to the 19 here, and then, so. And then we have a last little riff. And then a little bend on that 19th fret, and then we come down here. We got 5, 7, kind of makes like a grumbling chord right there a little bit. Now we get into page 3. We're holding this 5, then we're gonna have. So another one of those 8, 5, and then 7. Double pull-off thing. Hammer-on pull-offs. So same type of stuff. That one's a little different. And then we're going to have that one kind of waits. Kind of waits. And again. We get into kind of slower notes here. Okay, then we're to the bend thing. So let's take a look at this whole page here. We got kind of starts with this 5, 7, and then 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the G, 5, 7. So the last couple measures, that was 7, 5, 7, and then 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then we're gonna have these bends. Seventh fret of the G string, bend it down then, and then the next time we're gonna have the 5 on the G and the 7 on the D. And then again. And then we come to this 8 on the second string. And then we're on to the 4th page of the guitar solo tab. And then we're gonna have one more time. And now we have this kind of slowed down thing. Back into the intro chords. So let's look at from the bends. Light My Fire by The Doors, Robbie Krieger on the killer guitar solo, Ray Manzarek on the killer organ solo, and of course John Densmore on the drums and Jim Morrison on the vocals. All right, hope you dug that. Check out the tabs. Right on. Talk to you soon. All right, this is People Are Strange by The Doors, the great Robbie Krieger on guitar. We're going to start out with this. Okay, so we're starting out with 2 and open on the A string. Nice and slow. 3 on the E string there with a slight maybe bend. And then we're going to get into a E minor chord. We go O, 2, 2, O. We hold that open on the G string slightly. And then we come back to the 2 on the D string, and then we go 2, 1, open on the A string. So we got. And we're going to come into the A power chord there, so we're going to end up with 2, 1, open, 2, 2 to open on the G. We get back to that 2 on the D, 2, 1, open on the A. So we got. Now this time, 2, 2, and then the 2 2s that are part of the E minor chord. So open G, and then a triplet, O, 1, 2 on the A. And we have big 2. I end up doing it with these fingers. 2, 2, and 1 going down the strings from the big one. 2, 2, 1, big open, and then back to the 2, O, 3, O to start the second half. So from the beginning, we got those first 3 are extra slow. So it's like, and this is the verse. Same stuff. So there's a little bit of different stuff going on there. We had the now this one's gonna go O, 2, 2, 2, big open to 2, and then the triplet. So it's, and then at the end we have 2, 2 open after that E on that 5th, 4th, and 3rd string going down. So once again, real slow, we got. And then we're in the chorus, and you have to rest before you hit these chords. So it's like, boom. So we have a 4 and a 2 from a B7 here, and then we have the 2 from the B7. Think of a B7. So you could hit a B7 like, boom. But I've seen a tab that had a kind of an interesting sound, and it might be the right thing. 8 open and 7 for the B7 chord once you get after that first one. So the first one would be like, boom. Okay, so you could just hit these little 3s for a G chord, and you could hit the 807 for a B chord, but you could hit a full B chord and decide which one you think sounds best. So it'd be like 3, 4. So after we hit that 1, we kind of pause there for a minute, boom, and then we hit it 2 more times, boom, back to G. Just that once. And when you start hearing that one hit, there's a little bend that happens eventually. So it's the 10th fret of the 2nd string that happens with that. So it'd be like. Okay, so the chorus once again is like B7, G, B, and it stops there. And where that stops happen in the chorus is where you'll hear your bends there. Then we have a couple more Bs. So we're gonna pop back to the G now, 3 and 2 more of these. And actually 3 sets of that at the end of a chorus, and then 2, 2, 0, 0, 3, 3, 2. Okay, and then we get in the second verse. Now the second verse is gonna be on this E here. So we're gonna go up to So the tab I saw says 12 open 12. The songster tab says 12 open 12 and then 12s, and it kind of sounds cool. And then we're gonna go to the A minor 5s down here. So we got boom. Okay, so it's 12, 0, 12. We got to rest. You go rest, and then the 12s, just the bottom ones, and then the 5s. Back to those little 12s. 5s again, 12s, and then you're back to an open and 12 here at the end. Then we're going to repeat all that second verse. Boom. Okay, and then we have the solo. We're going to come in on the solo. Back to the chorus. Boom. And that would put us to the chorus, but we got to go back and look at that solo. So that solo is a 5th fret on the E string, like a half step downward bend. Now we're going to have a double pull off, 5-3-0, and then a 3-0 on the 2nd string. And then we bend that 2nd fret. We go to the open eventually, and you go 3 to 12 in a slide. And then we're going to have real slight bend on the 15 of the 2nd string. And you go to the 14 of the G down to the little 15. And we're going to have a little 12, 15, 12 in the 2nd. Bend that 14, pull it off. Go down to that lower 14. So we got. Now this next measure. So that's 12, 14 to the open. And Robbie Krieger was excellent on these open string riffs, man. He'd be just doing a thing way up here in this high position. All of a sudden, he's down in that low position. So being able to switch octaves in the middle of a phrase is really cool, and Robbie Krieger was great at that. So we got 12, 14, open, open, 3, and then a quick hammer 3 to 5 to the open to that 3 over here. So we got. Now we're going to do 3 bends on this 5th fret of the 2nd string and pull off to the open. Then we have a 3-5-3 open, all with 1 pick. Hammer on, pull off, pull off. To the 2, we're going to bend the 2, and then once we're up, we're going to bend it down, pull it off, go to the 2 over here, and then we're going to have an open, the 2 on the G, open on the B. We're going to have that bluesy slide, 2 to 4 to 3. And then a quick one. And then downward, pull off, 2-0-2. Okay, so the solo again, we got. Okay, and then we're back into your chorus. So I think we've done that enough. And then we got the outro chorus is going to be kind of arpeggiating the chords. You got your B7. So you got your 2-1-2, open 2, and you're going to go 2-1-2, then jump to the little one, and then hit the second one. Now we can do a little finger picking here. We got a G chord here, so we got 5, 5, 4, 3, 3. We're gonna hit the outside ones, the 5th and 1st string, and then the 4th string to the 2nd, 1st string, and then 4th, 2nd, 4th. So it's. Okay, and then we're gonna jump to this B7 chord up here. 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, and 7. So if you haven't tried that one, that's a great 7 chord to get that pinky in there in the 2nd string. So this one's going to have like a. So this is like a triplet with the 7 on the small ones, 5th and 4th strings. 1 and then we go 8 to 10, and then we go 7, 7, 7. D string to E and back. So. And we'll just do that one again. And he's likely doing some different ones each time, but this kind of makes it a little easier for you. And you could arpeggiate that however you think it sounds best, you know. You probably did it different a lot, too. We're going to do the B7 actually twice. back to the G, and then we're gonna do the B7 3 times. And you can switch it up, you know. Then we're gonna have slowly go up the B7 chord. Once again, that's 2, 1, 2, open 2. And then they do kind of a pitch change. They bring the pitch up. It's almost like a reverse whammy bar going down the. So we go. And it gets higher as it goes. All right, People Are Strange, the awesome Robbie Krieger and the Doors. Talk to you all soon. All right, this is Break On Through by the Doors. We're going to start out with this. So what we got there is we wait a little bit for the organ to get started up, and then we pop in with this 12th fret E string down to the open E string. We're going to be in the E minor pentatonic scale, so we're going to have, so that's 2 to open on the D string, and then we're going to go 2 on the A string. So we got. So we go from that B note, 2nd fret A string, 2 E notes on that 2nd fret D string, and then we go B to open D, and we're back to the slide. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1. So let's try to count that in. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we have a D5 chord. We got the D string and the 2 and the 3, kind of muting the bottom one there. So we got D, 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 and then we're into this new riff. Okay, so that's how those two parts connect. So we have the D5, and that was after 4 of that other riff. So 2 was the intro, 2 was the verse, then we have the D5 chords, and then we have that riff. So it's open to 3 on the E string, and then O, 1, 2 on the A, and O, 1, 2 on the D, and then O, 2, O on the G, and then 2, O, 2 on the D. So it's. Last one just goes to give you time to kind of go back to that. So you want to try that riff? 3, 4. And then the last one. Let's do 4 more of those. That's going to be like 2 setting up a verse and 2 for the verse and back into the D5 chords and then back into this riff that we did, this chorus riff with the hammer-ons and stuff. So let's try those 4 times on that A riff again. We're going to start in, the 4th beat. We hit the slide down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we did that one 3 times that time, and then we get into a really long organ solo. We end up doing this A riff 20 times. So let's just do it 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. times, and then we're gonna have. Okay, so that's kind of a repeat of the same thing. 03, 012, 012. So we stack them up back to back, kind of quick on that one. And then we're gonna move up into this is a E7 or E7 raised 9 shape. We're gonna do it up on the octave, and you can kind of put a 12th fret E note in there. So you could either kind of just do the chord and try to do the answers like boom, check, boom, stuff like that. Or you could try to put that bass note in there and have 14, 13, 15, 15 down here. Okay, so it gets into a thing like that 4 times, and you get your D chord again. And then we got the hammer-on riff twice. And then now we have. Okay, so that one's gonna go 03, 012, 02. And we do that 3 times in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we have like a kind of a weird little added riff. So this is as close as I can kind of figure it out. It's 0, 2, 3, 4 on the G string, and then 6 to 7 to 5, and then. Okay, so there's like 9 of those unison bends. You got 5th fret, 2nd string, 7th fret, 3rd string. Okay, so that's basically it for Break On Through by The Doors. Let's look at those riffs again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it kind of repeats all that stuff. Then you get in the. Do that 4 times, get your D. 2 times. All right, this is going to be Riders on the Storm by The Doors. So we have a keyboard intro, and then the verse gets going, and you have these little fills on guitar that come in. We have like a. Okay, so we got 2, 2, 2, 0, 2 on the D string, and then we have. So there's a little bit of a hammer there. Hammer to the 2 there of the A string, and then we. So that's A string open, and you got that 3rd fret with a little quarter step bend on it, and then we're back to like an E. Then we're gonna have. So you kind of wait for the 1 E and you hit on the of the 1. So 1 E and. So 2 0 2 0 3 0. So D D D D D, and then wait C C C. So all this again was. We have what I'm calling the part A riff. We have. Okay, and that part will happen a whole bunch of times in the song. So we got B string first, and then G to B, so it's. hammer into that open to 2, and then open G to that 2, hammer that into the 3 from the 2. O3, and then pull it off and back in the same kind of way, and then O2, O at the end. So you got 3, 4. Okay, so we got that same B to C riff after that. So the walk up here in these chords was 5s, 7s, 9, 8, 8, and then 11, 12, 10. And then we're back to that A riff. And then the D chord to C chord thing. A riff again. Okay, then we're going to get into the solo. Now the solo is going to go a lot like that first kind of riff we did. We're going to go to the G string and back. So we got... There's a new measure here we're going to wait for the 1, so it's going to go 2, 1. So we have 1, 2E and a 3E and a 4. 1. Okay, so it's O2 on the A, and then O2 on the D, O2 on the G, O2 again on the B, where you'd think it'd be a 3 a lot of times for a pentatonic, but he sticks with that 2 in there. That C sharp makes it sound different. So you got 1. So once we get to that high E up there, we're going to have B string, and then a couple E's with the 3 open on the B string. So we're going to bend that 2 on the G string, pull it, 2, 2 over here, and then... So we took a D string to the second fret of the A, and then we go back to that A riff where we had that little bend on the 3. So all together, the solo so far, we got... Okay, so that was a da-da-dum, pull off D string, down to that 2 on the A string, same thing down here, G to G string, same thing down here, B string, 202, so it's always 202, 202, 202, little E and then 2 to 4 slide, 202, and then, so that last one is 1, 2, slide back up, G to D, back into that D to C chords thing. So one more time in the solo, we got 4, 1. Okay, then we're in a new verse. We do that same A riff again, 2 times through. Then we have the... Then we got the D to C. So one of these times you can hit a little sus chord with that pinky in there. And then we got... So here's the keyboard solo. We're going to start out with sliding all these 12s down, these 3 strings down here. And then you get into the keyboard groove, and we're going to have some basic kind of chords. He kind of mixes it up. I'm going to show you kind of how to comp this a little bit. So once you got this 12 sliding down, you kind of wait for a while, and then you can hit a couple more. A few of those things like that. And then we're going to get into like a 1, 2, 3. That kind of thing. So you got 12s, 14s, and then 16, 15, 15. Back to the 14s, and then you'll have stuff like boom. Okay, basically just kind of does that type of thing. You could have 3 or 2 note chords. You could do the second and third strings on those. So long keyboard solo eventually will end on like a E minor chord. Drums pick us back up into the part A. We end up doing like 6 of those that time. We've got our chords. Okay, then we have the final guitar solo. Okay, so this one you got to just kind of like look at I suggest like the Songster tab. Songster tab has all the like rhythms built into it. You can listen to the real song at the same time. But I'm going to run you through each little part here. It's hard to get the timing. You got to listen to it a lot. It's nice and slow, very tasty, very placed, everything very well. So first we're going to have. So we slid 7 to 11, hit it again, 9, 7, and then we're going back into the 11. Kind of the same. Kind of quicker there. So we have a bend on the 9, 7, 6, 4. Kind of a quick 4, 6, 4. A couple bends up and down there, and then we're gonna have a kind of a quick one, and then it is on the stone. So those go like with the vocal. And then we get a kind of quicker set here. 6, 7, 6, 4, 2. Four, 6, 7, 6, 7, 9, 9, 7 into the 11. Then we got a couple of these 7, 11s. And then we have a couple chords here, little 12s, 14s. So listen and play along with that solo. That one's kind of tricky, the way it has so much space to it. And it kind of varies, the same types of sounds and stuff goes around the vocal and things like that. So excellent Robbie Krieger guitar stuff as always. Riders on the Storm, The Doors, 2 pages of tabs. Take it easy. See you soon. Thanks a lot.